So I am headed out to check a pond to see if it's finally thawed out yet. The pond I'm checking actually is one of the first ponds in my area to thaw out, just because it's weedy and pretty shallow. But it's been relatively warm the past week or so in New Hampshire. One day actually got up to 67 degrees. But enough talking, I'm pretty excited. Let's just start walking to the pond. Well, I think I see quite a bit of ice still, unfortunately. Well, I mean, there's a little bit of open water, not much. One thing I gotta make sure I do is check for ticks. So I've made it to the edge of the pond here, and like you guys kind of saw before, there's not a lot of space for me to fish, but I'm here. All the other ponds I checked are frozen, and typically when I go bank fishing, really any time of the year, not just early spring like it is today, I like to travel light. Basically, in my backpack, all I have are some camera gear and like 2 fishing lures. And I brought 1 rod and 1 reel with me today, and I'm gonna be fishing a jig. But not really just any old jig. This jig is actually really cool, in my opinion. This jig is from Megabass. This is just basically a swim jig, but it's like a Megabass UOZE swimmer. And the cool thing about this jig too is that it has a little blade on the bottom of the bait as well. Not to mention that super realistic head. This is a super stout hook as well, and I don't know if you guys can see that keeper there, but once you put a bait on here, it's not coming off. Now, this is what the swim jig looks like in the package. This is just my backup swim jig in case I get my first one snagged. But the first one I'm using is 3/8 of an ounce. And I believe it's a 4/0 hook. Yeah, 4/0 hook. But the color that I'm gonna be using, I believe is called like Taipan, but it just looks like a bluegill imitation. And I'm gonna be using a 4-inch Kitech on the back of this. I just think this perch color from Kitech looks so good. I'm just gonna rip off that head just barely though. Now, when I'm fishing super cold water like today, I like to go basically as natural as possible. Now, that's gonna change the little bit later in spring I get. When the fish get more aggressive, then I like to use those more aggressive colors. But really early in the spring like this, I really like to use natural colors. But I'm just gonna thread this bait on. Like that. And I've already trimmed up the skirt a little bit as well. So I got this jig tied to 20-pound fluorocarbon. Yeah, without further ado, let's get this show on the road. Just gonna kind of cast it right there, not too far, and just drag it back to me. But even in a small pond like this, you wouldn't think the fish would just be a couple feet offshore. But right now the fish are really just looking for warmth. And if it's warmer up in that 2 feet range, then that's where they're gonna be. And I'm just gonna work these bushes right in front of me here. And as time goes on, that's when I'm gonna start working further and further out. Alright, I'm just gonna creep down this bank here. Because this pond is up a little bit, as you guys can tell from all the floating debris, that could push the fish, even in this cold of water, really shallow right underneath this debris. So I don't want to go stomping down this bank. I still just want to take it nice and easy and just kind of flip off the bank right here and just work really slow. Even though I just casted maybe 7 feet away from me, I'm gonna work this bait in this spot for probably a solid 45 seconds. Alrighty, looks like somebody was here dragging a bait over the ice. I didn't think anybody else was crazy enough to come out here. Hopefully they didn't catch my fish. Deepest part so far. That could have been a fish or a weed. Drops off right beyond this bush here, so we'll flip this jig out beyond this bush, see what happens. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Nice pickerel. Nice pickerel. Let's go. First open water fish of 2021. That's what I'm talking about, and that is a nice pickerel too. Look at that. Nice hook set too, so he didn't snap me off. Cool, man. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Ooh, there he goes. I love open water fishing. All right, cool. Not a bad way to start off this year. Not a bad first fish either. I really like this little swim jig too. I thought maybe like the skirt would kind of interfere with the blade, but that's not the case. Let's get right up on that bank there. Man, I really like this jig. That's a nice and stout weed guard right there. And that's the way that I like it. stouter the better. Alright, I'm headed to the last spot today. Technically, I already fished this area. It was the first spot I went to. So that is it for today. And overall, I had one more bite than I honestly thought I was gonna have. Came here expecting the worst, and I thought this pond would be completely frozen over like it was like 2 days ago. But I was very happily surprised that I was able to find a little stretch of open water. And although I didn't hook into a bass today, that pickerel was still pretty big and fun. And I just have to say, my overall first impressions of this Megabass swim jig is great. I really liked its action underneath the water. And it has a really stiff hook, has a nice bait keeper. And I mean, obviously, look at that realistic fish head. And this jig here is kind of on the pricey side. I believe they're $12 a piece. And if durability holds up on this bait, then in my unprofessional opinion, it's worth every dollar. Metal hand-tied skirt, I don't know if you can see it in there, but there's a little wire that ties on the skirt. It's not like a little rubber band that a fish is just gonna come and tear or pull down all the time. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Peace.